So I recently decided that I wanted to learn how to freestyle rap.
It's not something I've ever thought of doing before. As a doctor and productivity nerd, I always wanted to be the next Ed Sheeran, not the next 50 Cent, Jay-Z or Logic Pro.
But a couple of months ago, I discovered some videos by Chris Turner and Harry Mack, and I realized that freestyle rap is the coolest thing ever if you can do it properly.
I seen up in your background, you be grooving on your snowboard.
And so, because we're all fans of lifelong learning, my freestyle rap journey had begun.
Alright, so it's day one and I'm just about to have my very first coaching session with my friend Michael. I have no idea how it's going to go. Let's just see what happens. Michael is one of the founders of Ultra Speaking, and he's been doing freestyle rap for over 8 years. In our first session though, it was quite clear that I had a lot to learn.
You gotta say hello, you gotta reach into the zone, you gotta hit that flow, you gotta spit those bars like you're spitting fire. I don't know what even rhymes with fire. I've got my post-it note, gonna take my notes about the freestyle rap that I'm going to go. I'm gonna make a video on YouTube doing this.
During the first week, I tried to practice for 10 minutes each day in the shower, but I'd constantly feel super self-conscious, even though the only person who could hear me was my housemate. And so the first week was really hard, and I went back to Michael a little bit frustrated and wondering how I could improve.
When I listen to like people doing it on YouTube, it's like the gap between me and them is like so huge that it feels completely insurmountable.
There is a component of this that you're not going to be able to shortcut in 30 days. Because of just the true experience you get from reps, from rhyming the same words over and over again. Rhyme works simply by taking the word and really dissecting it into just the root sounds.
Okay.
So what are the root sounds of Pepsi?
E and E.
Yeah, E. What we want to start practicing, one of the ways we want to start practicing is to flood our brain with rhyme, with essentially forcing it to make the sounds on the spot. Yep. And whether or not it's a real word or it makes sense, you literally run through that program. Okay. So let's practice. Fortnite.
That's how it works. Might. Yep. But I'm on a boat, right? Because I'm playing Fortnite and it's a port fight and it's a oh god.
Yeah. So the only difference between you and me right now, right, is self-consciousness.
Right, so it's day 12 of the journey, and I can feel like things are kind of becoming easier, but I know that I've still got tons and tons of practice to do if I want to actually get good at it. Now, tomorrow I've got a session with a chap called Gavin from Flow Fam, which is apparently like this training community type thing where they help you get into flow when it comes to rapping. So we'll see how that goes.
Before we go on, I just want to address why I'm doing this freestyle rap thing. And the main part of the reason is just because I think it's cool. Like, I'm generally a fan of learning cool stuff, and even if what I'm doing doesn't actually have any real long-term benefit, like I'm never going to become a freestyle rapper, I'm never going to make money of it, it doesn't matter because I think it's cool and it's fun, and that's the mental model that I use to decide whether I'm going to do something. Does this seem like it would be fun? Does it seem like it would be an interesting journey to go on? So that's the most important part, but freestyle rap is actually useful in other ways as well.
A study published in 2012 found that when people perform freestyle rap, their brain activity increases in the areas responsible for motivation, action, language, emotion, and motor skills, while we get reduced activity in the brain regions responsible for regulating supervision and monitoring, which normally limits our spontaneous creativity.
One potential theory around this is that when we're freestyle rapping, or in my case, attempting to freestyle rap, it forces our brains to try and find these unique words and rhymes and combinations, and that kind of forces us to be more creative with our language. And when all these factors are interacting and the stars are aligned, freestyle rappers get into the flow state, and that was what I was trying to work on with Gavin.
He began by explaining what he thinks is key to the freestyle rap process, which is something he calls the flow cycle.
So flow state actually has a cycle. There's 4 different stages. It's called surfer, SRFR. Ride the wave of flow. The first principle is called flow is just around the corner. It just means put one step in front of the other. If you stumble, it's okay, because that's actually the first part of the flow cycle, which is the S, which is struggle. A challenge should actually be a little harder, but basically it should be a little harder than your skill challenge, so you exert a little effort into it, and then basically becomes this positive feedback loop where you start to get the hang of it, and that triggers the second phase, which is the R, release, where your parasympathetic nervous system is engaged, your heart rate slows down, and you relax. And when you relax, you start to judge yourself less. When you get into that place, it triggers the next one, which is flow state. They call it transient hypofrontality. right? So this is where the parts of your prefrontal cortex that's responsible for decision making, planning ahead, planning your 2021 goals, that actually shuts off. And that's a really important part of your brain. And it's also the mechanism where the inner critic comes. It's like, oh, what would think, or what if I fail? What if I don't do good at this? And it keeps us in our head. So that's going to be the goal, is for you to access flow state today using the emotive power of music.
We then began doing some scatting exercises to help unlock flow, where the aim isn't to make any sense at all, but just to lean into the discomfort and get over that inner feeling of cringy self-consciousness and just basically make random noises over the beat. Even though it sounds strange, doing these exercises actually helped me lean into that discomfort a bit more, and it helped me find that flow far more quickly as we move towards the halfway point of the challenge.
So you're about halfway through your journey now. What's working, what isn't?
I'm already starting to realize sort of words and phrases that I can lean on if I need to. Like something like driving with my homies and chilling downtown.
Most rappers use their names. So like Harry Mack, you'll always hear him saying
Harry Mack, Harry Mack.
Yeah. So
Michael and I continued our session, and afterwards, just like last month, I thought I'd ask my housemate Sheen what she thought of my challenge and whether she'd noticed the benefits that I talked about and whether she thought I had a potential career as a world-famous rapper.
Career is a strong word. I can't wait for it to stop. Do you know if it's going to stop after the 30 days thing is done? I don't know how to put it into words. It's just, it makes me cringe for him because he doesn't cringe at it enough to make him stop. He just doesn't have the street cred, I think, to do it.
What would it take for him to get the street cred to do it?
Another lifetime?
For the next 15 days, I carried on practicing wherever I could. At my desk, on the sofa, in the kitchen, in my Tesla, in the shower, on the podcast with my brother. I managed to sneak in a few more sessions with Michael, and then after a little while, things started to feel a little bit like they were clicking, and I was finding it a little bit easier to get into that flow state. So before we get into the final day, I want to share a few lessons that I've learned over the last 30 days of trying to do this freestyle rap thing. Lesson number one, and the most important, is always stay in the zone. Like, always stay in character, keep the flow going. And this is really hard if you're trying to do a little bit of freestyle rap and then you're like, oh crap, I can't think of anything to say. And then you just have to kind of just keep on going because that's part of the game. And like, the more you keep on going, the more the stuff starts coming out. And like, trying to train ourselves out of monitoring the things that we're thinking and cringing at them and then being like, oh my God, I can't, and I'm getting embarrassed and I'm going to stop. And for the first few days where I was doing this, I just like really struggled to break through this. Like, oh, I know what I'm saying doesn't make sense. I know this is absolutely terrible, but I've just got to keep on going anyway because that's just how it works. Secondly, I've learned that our brain has a surprisingly good autocomplete function and that we should trust it. Like, often when I was doing the freestyle rap in the shower or in my car, and I leaned into that thing of embracing the discomfort of being absolutely terrible at it and embracing this idea of just keep going, I found that occasionally I was coming up with some pretty good stuff. And I would just kind of start a sentence and then my brain would randomly finish it off with something that sounded kind of cool and sounded like it was rhyming with the thing that came previously. And I was thinking, damn, that's pretty solid. Like, I don't know how I came up with that. And I think this is interesting because, at least for me, like, when I'm in social situations, I always kind of monitor what I'm saying. And especially if it's like a social situation in which I'm not particularly comfortable, like if I'm talking to a pretty girl, for example, I'm always kind of like running this thing in my head of like, oh, I don't want to say anything that might be misconstrued as being like bad or like creepy or like cringe or like offensive or like, you know, what if they think that I'm an idiot because I say this thing? And I've got this constant like thing running through my head. But what I found is that like, if I just take a step back and don't think about it too hard, then things just work out. Like when I'm with my friends, when I'm with my housemate, when I'm with people I'm comfortable around, I'm not worried about what I'm saying. Through learning freestyle rap, I've realized that I need to try and get into this state more often, where I'm just kind of having a very non-judgmental approach and trusting my brain's autocomplete function to say something reasonable, whether or not it's, quote, the right thing. Rule number 3 is that you have to break through the cringe response. I think I'm pretty good at being okay with this, like, you know, making a video like this where people in the comments are going to be like, oh my God, Ali, you know, stop doing freestyle rap, stick to making freaking videos on YouTube. That's fine. Like, it takes a certain level of like not giving a shit to be able to get through that cringe response. You know, the judgment from others, but also the more importantly, the judgment from ourselves that, oh, I suck at this thing, I just have to keep on going. I think this is a transferable skill to other aspects of life. Like, if you can get over the fear of being cringy, it just unlocks a very interesting aspect of the human experience where you're more okay with taking risks and doing stuff that feels fun to you that might look weird to others, and embracing your personal weirdness. Because really, it's the personal weirdness and the authenticity that helps us connect with other people. Rule number 4, freestyle rap can absolutely be learned. You know, when I started this journey, looking at Chris Turner and Harry Mackey, like, these guys are freaking amazing. I had zero idea. Like, it seemed like such a black box. Like, how do I go from here? Like, zero experience with rapping. Like, I don't even listen to rap. I don't even know what rap is. There's zero experience. How do I get anywhere close to where these guys are? And I'm still obviously nowhere near that point. But by spending a little bit of time working on it, I feel like I've cracked the black box. And now it's like, oh, okay, I see the road to get to where they are. I see the practice it takes, and I see the methods along the way. And it's not like such an unknown kind of thing. And so what I'd encourage you to do is, if you're thinking of learning something and it feels like a black box to you, don't be afraid of the black box. Just crack it open and you'll find that there are probably some very well trodden paths hiding within the box.
My final session was with both Michael and Tristan from Ultra Speaking during a YouTube live stream. We're playing a game called Blind Slideshow, where random images come up and we have to try and rap about those as prompts. Here was one of my attempts from the session. So this is a rap about my favorite childhood memory. It's one of those things that I just can't even see. I'm in this Chinese store and I'm wearing my mask and I don't know why. It's just a real bask in the sunlight with my black car and my Mazda and my mama, and she's in the driver's seat and I'm sitting in the car and the windows are down and they're blowing in my hair, and now change the slide, see what you're doing, you see the smoke go wild, you see the wind in your face in your black jacket, and you're going down home and see the bracket of the thing and the slide and the da-da-da-da-da, something da-da-da, gotta just keep flowing, gotta keep going on, gotta do my graffiti, chilling up the wall with my homies downtown, and my memory. That's what I'm supposed to be talking about, but I just don't know what I'm even talking about. I just know that I've got to stay in the flow. I feel like a lot of times my memory these days is sitting on my desk with my lights in my face and the camera on and the microphone here, and I just go on and on. And I speak to the camera, I do these live streams, and I look outside and I notice the sunset, the clouds in the sky, the air and the wind as they just go by. But really, I'm just sitting here in front of the PC. It's not a PC, it's my Mac. Yes. And you know that I don't believe in Windows because I'm just outside. There's a window in the background with my orange bag, and I've got my childhood memory and I've got my swag, and it says on it, it says Apple, because this is a freestyle rap. And then my name's Michael.
So that was my 30 days of trying to learn how to freestyle rap. Obviously, still not very good, but it's a work in progress. If you guys are interested in lifelong learning the way I am, you might like to check out Skillshare, who are very kindly sponsoring this video. I've got a ton of online classes in Skillshare. I've got 2 themed around productivity, 2 around how to study for exams, 1 about the lessons that I've taken from Stoicism to make myself happier, and 1 on how to video edit using Final Cut Pro if you want to create videos exactly like this one. If you're one of the first 1,000 people to hit the link in the video description, then you will get a free trial to Skillshare, and during that trial, you can check out all of my classes along with the thousands of other online classes that they've got on Skillshare. And those range from all sorts of topics, from like graphic design and illustration to business and productivity and cooking and interior design, and basically anything you want to learn, you can learn on Skillshare. Also, there's like 10+ hours of my own stuff on Skillshare that you should definitely check out. So if that sounds good, then hit the link in the video description, get your free trial to Skillshare, check out my stuff, check out the other stuff. It's great for lifelong learning. If you like this video, you might like to check out this playlist over here, which has some of my other learning themed 30-day challenges. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.